Hello, it's Duncan. I was very impressed by the Cursor AI editor when Uberto Barbini demonstrated using it for TDD in Kotlin. But we really didn't do strict TDD, where we only make the simplest possible changes to code and tests. So today we're going to revisit our little DateTime fizzbuzz algorithm using Kotlin, Cursor AI agent mode, and TDDs if you meant it. Oh, and in case you think I've forsaken JetBrains, make sure you're subscribed, because next week I'll be repeating this exercise using their new AI agent plugin, Junie. When the AI takes over the world, I hope that it admits that I gave it help. Uberto, we're back.
Hi.
Welcome. Last episode, we were playing with Cursor and Kotlin and discovering that it was really very clever. And we did a little bit of TDD, but we didn't
really
do TDD. I do it maybe. So a chap called Keith Braithwaite in the 2000s timescale had an exercise called TDD as if you meant it. I think you called it.
Yeah, I think.
The idea was that we would actually do TDD as it was written, and TDD as it's written really is we add the smallest test that we can add. We watch that test fail, so we run the test and we watch it fail. We make the smallest change that we can to make that test pass. We watch the test pass. And then we're allowed to refactor to remove duplication. So we're allowed to add a sort of step there of creativity, if you like. And then we repeat this cycle until we're done. And last time we basically told the AI what we wanted to do up front, and then it just went and did it. But I thought it would be really interesting to see what would happen if we don't give it clues. We just give it increasing amounts of specification, and then maybe we would understand the test that we had and so on. And
really
the other thing I've discovered is Cursor's agent mode. I think you were using that last time. We had a little play without agent mode, and now agent mode is working for me. It wasn't for some reason, but now it is. And agent mode, how would you describe that?
So basically, you allow Cursor, the LLM, to run command on your machine. In the configuration, you can also specify, for example, it's okay to run build, git, or whatever, but no more than that. So you can put some limit in the configuration. And it's, you can show that now is in agent mode, yes.
Yes, I've got this little it's tiny here, but the difference is that allows Cursor to run commands on my machine.
And also see look at directly the output of the command, so we don't need to copy paste anything.
So I've created this with IDEA actually, so with IntelliJ, because actually getting Cursor to set up a Kotlin project, when I tried that, I had to convince it that year was 2025 before it would admit Kotlin 2.1 exists. Various things to do with LLMs being trained on old data. So going straight to IntelliJ, asking it to create a clean Kotlin project, which is where we are now. And I'm going to try telling the composer, I don't want to tell it the problem we're going to solve, but I want to give it some sort of clue about what we're going to do. So I'm going to type something like, you are going to help me use test-driven development.
I think today we only wanted to write the test ourselves and don't tell anything about how the specification are, basically.
Yes. So we'll just check that
I guess.
So it's already being proactive. Looking at the build.gradle, I can see it works. It's good of it. I feel like it's trying to take charge already, but I'm going to tell it from now on, create Kotlin source files in the com one-eyed men package. Okay, so giving it some basic rules. It's doing some things. So this is the different agent mode that it's allowing. We allowed it to list the directories, really have a look around. Is that it? Or
it's looking basically at it.
Right. From now on, we're going to say run the test after every operation. If they fail, tell me why, and then offer to fix them. So that's kind of the rule, right? So we're going to write tests, and it is going to make them pass, but only write the simplest code necessary to get the test to pass. Oh, so here, though, it's saying, let me run the test now to establish our baseline. So it hasn't actually run Gradle test without me asking to, but I can tell it to just by doing that thing. That's good. And there will be the normal Gradle delay.
Yeah, so you already wrote the first test, correct?
No, I don't have any tests at all at the moment. We are
Okay.
empty.
So it took
Great,
a
the
grade
tests are
of 20
passing.
seconds.
I love that. Look, it says, great, the tests are passing, although we don't have any tests yet. That's kind of the script I'd write. So I'm finally going to say, only write the simplest code necessary to get the test to pass, unless I say otherwise. So that is the instructions I might give to a junior developer. Right, okay, what do we want to do? I need to create a test. So create a test class called my tests. I'll create a test called my tests. Okay, and so now our rule is, so we need to accept that. So I'm going to just accept, so that will end up, and it's running the test, I guess. Oh no, I need to run that command so that it runs the test. I'm going to put that away for now so we can see basically our code. I've created a simple possible test. Test passes because it doesn't assert anything yet.
Yeah.
We'll only add assertions when you have. So, okay, so it's offering to add a specific test case, but I want to do that rather than it. And we had this idea that we were going to have a function that was going to return something like fizzbuzz, but not fizzbuzz because that's too easy for LLMs. It was going to return for 5s and 7s after the current date. So we'd pass it a local date, and it would have to work out from the beginning of the year how many days there were. So our first test is going to be assert equals. I should also say that I have not even the Kotlin plugin to Cursor, or I guess Visual Studio Code installed here, so we're not getting syntax highlighting or anything. We're going to say that we want the string 1 if we call my fun with a local date of 2025-1-1. That's very plausible, and that's kind of what I want. So the 1st of January, it will return 1. Okay, so I've written my test, and I'm going to say, okay, I have a new test for you. Let's see if it remembers what I asked it to do. I see you've added a test. Oh, so it fixed the test. Well, that's nice of it. Simplest possible function, string equals 1. That has actually now let me run the test. Oh, brilliant. We're there. But it's not going to do that until I tell it to run that command.
Yeah, 20 seconds to run the test.
Yes. It cheated a bit, didn't it? Because it fixed my code and then it ran the tests, but it didn't run the tests before it fixed the code. Sorry, it didn't run the tests after fixing the code, but before writing my fun. But the tests do pass, so that's good. But it didn't run the test in the middle, though, did it? And that's what I wanted it to do. So it fixed that, and then it created the simplest possible implementation. So I'm going to tell it, please don't change implementation code until you have seen the test fail. You're absolutely okay. Absolutely right. I apologize for not following strict TDD. Oh, so it's now undoing that. That's really interesting. Okay, so at these points, it's waiting for me to accept these changes, and I suppose that's good. But we've got restore checkpoints we can use and so on. That's really nice. So I want to run that one. So it's seeing the test fails because my fund doesn't exist. This is the proper red stage of TDD. Would you like to implement the minimal code? Yes, please. I do find this fascinating. That is the minimal. Now let's run the test. So it's now doing the right thing. It's added some things, run the tests.
Yeah, I wonder maybe you can tell please run the test without for you to confirm if you want.
Yes, let me try that. Okay. Okay. Oh, look, green ticks. I like green ticks. I mean, green ticks are even part of TDD, so it's got that right. The test is now passing. Would you like to add another test or drive set? So I'm going to say, please run the test automatically in future. Don't ask me to accept. See whether that's the thing you can do. Oh, there you are. Look. And is that, I mean, that appears to be waiting anyway. I'll click it this time and see how we go. Okay, so according to our rules, that's good. So I now want to say, I'm just going to add another assertion to this test rather than creating another test, because I think that's probably okay. So we're going to say, if it was the
2nd of January,
second day, then we would want that. Okay, I'm not understanding this accept or reject here. That's
you can put the reject all, and
okay.
I think it's kind of save, but
Right. So I have added another assertion. See how we do. I'll run the tests. Gradle test. Brilliant.
No, you still have to run the
Okay, so
command.
we get. Thank you. You're going to have to be my. So we now need an AI to press the button on the AI, don't we?
Yeah, probably there is some setting or property that.
Right. Okay. So that's great. I think that. So that's not the simplest implementation that could work, right? It could compare. I mean, it could compare
Yeah.
the day of the month, but I mean, simple is in the eye of the beholder. I think that's a sane implementation, and the cycle is brilliant. So the fact that we can ask it to do one thing after another, but continue that little cycle, I find is fantastic. Okay, would you like to
Yeah.
add some test cases? I'm interested to see. I might at this point add another test that passes. So we don't have to change the implementation code. Let's do that. There is another session. So it's asking me to run the test thread. That's fine. Test passes. Okay, so no changes were needed. That's brilliant. So we've
I will try at this point to because it's using day of the month to try something in February just to see to make it
I
fail.
so
Or you prefer to introduce fizzbuzz?
I want to torture it, to be honest with you. Like I want to do the fooey bari bits and then see whether it can dig itself out of its hole. Um,
Okay, yeah.
so we're going to
Let's.
give it no clues in the names, but we're going to say so. I'm just going to name this one like test one and test two. And this is going to be test two. And so I'm going to, in test two, we're going to say, if it was the fifth, then we would want to say, and we would not, instead of fizzbuzz, we're going to do foobar or foobaz. Yeah. Okay.
Fizzbuzz.
Right. So there we are. We've got some things. Ask it to do another test to consider, please. I'll run the tests. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm going
still.
to have to do some editing of me sitting there looking at the screen going, what? Oh, I need to press the button. There's Cursor Simpson, isn't there, where he works in the nuclear power plant. He's got the dippy bird that just does his job, pressing the button. Oh, right. So what have we got? I should probably look at my fun at the same time as anything else, right? So I'm going to, can I move that under there in some, there,
Yeah, you
like
can
that.
move on the right. Oh, so yeah, on down.
Right, that's good. So now we can see my tests and the implementation, and we can see the interaction we're having. So this is saying if its day of month is 5, else date day of month to string. I think that's probably the simplest implementation. And we tell it to run in order to lock that in. Brilliant. All the test passing now returns. So it's telling what it's doing. So it's continued to ask to add more test cases. I don't want it to. I want to do that myself. So what else would be foo?
The
Then
10th.
10. So the 10th. And no,
Yeah.
thank you. Just another test for you. I'll run the tests. Oh, come on, come on. I only have one job now, and I'm not doing that one job. Right, update. If it's day of month equals 5 or day of month equals 10, foo else. Okay, so at this point it's done. That is the simplest code that could make work, right? I
Okay.
think that's good. I can't read that code, so instead of reformatting it myself, I'm going to say, can you reformat
No
my
problem.
fun so that it is less wide? Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, let's run the test to verify the reformatting didn't affect the functionality. I like that. It's good of it. Oh, but I need to do it. And while it's doing that, I'm going to add another one so that it's a bit ridiculous that it keeps on adding cases, right? So we're going to say for 15 as well,
Yeah.
that would be foo. So code is start. Would you like any other more formatting changes? No, thank you. I'm just going to say there is another session. I'll run the tests. So I like the way that it's looking at the code, working out what the new assertion is, and telling me what it is.
Yeah.
That's a nice feature. Still not telling me, Duncan, press the button. Right, update the implementation to handle all 3 cases. Right, so that we believe will pass. That's good. Let's let it
Yeah.
run to show that it works. That's splendid. And now I'm going to say, from now on, go through the TDD cycle when I say loop. I'm sick and tired of writing. Okay, look at that. Okay, right. So the implementation is getting a bit duplicative, shall we say.
Yeah.
Please
Please.
refactor to make it simpler. I mean, let's see what it thinks simpler is. Oh, okay, that wasn't what I had in mind, but it's good.
Okay.
I mean, better.
I'm still waiting for you to click.
This is the thing. Now we're going to be pair programming, but the job of the pair is to remind the person who's driving to click the button on the AI.
click here.
Okay, that's very interesting. We had this subject of a when, and we had this 5, 10, 15 that I didn't know we could do, at least until last week when the
Yeah.
AI did it for us. That's good, but it ultimately a bit of a dead end. So I can't write a test to show the difference. So I'm going to have to actually ask it to refactor again, aren't I? So I'm going to have to say, can you not test against 5, 10, 15, but use some maths? Maths.
So,
Burn it. Okay, these are all
yeah.
multiples of 5.
Okay. Yes.
That's brilliant. Okay, so that's getting good. Press the button, Duncan.
So it put the data back on, but yeah.
It did, yeah. So we've, and I can see why, because when with subject we've discovered doesn't work well in this situation. So the test is good. So let's hit it with
the buds.
with some, yeah. So now we want Baz, and Baz. My editing in is a lot worse here. So that's so we're going sevens. So sevens
Yes. 14.
is 14 and 21. This is going to be test 3, and now I should just have to say loop. So it should find that test 3 fails.
You still have to
if
click.
I press the button. What do you do for a living, Daddy? So that is the behavior I would expect of a developer, of a human, because it
We
had
got
been going
immediately.
simple, but it's seen the pattern. I suppose, to be fair, I did give it 3 things all at once. Maybe I should have drip fed it 1 7 and then another 7 and another 7, but that's good.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so we now want to go on to multiples of 5 and 7. And so the first one of those is 5 sevens are 35. And so we are going to have to think about that. I'm going to give it one shot, and we're going to say that fubaz is local date of 111, and then we need to add 34 days to that. Is that right?
Yeah, because the 1st January is the first, so you. Or we can do like 31st of December and add the 35.
We could. I think that's good, isn't it? One thing I don't know is whether it. And when I tried this without using agent mode, I got the impression that it was looking at the tests, not looking at the test failures, but looking at the tests, which is legitimate, I suppose. But in some ways, you want the black box of the tests. Just going to go with this.
Yeah, or we can say whatever is a 4th of February or something.
Yes. Oh, press the button.
Okay, you are getting better.
I'm getting better. It needs if it just like a little boop boop something, right? So date, day of month 35 is fubaz. So that's brilliant, but will fail, right?
I hope so.
If I actually run it. So the issue here is that we're not using, it needs not to use the day of the month, it needs to use the day of the year.
Yes.
Oh, hold on a minute. Did it think those tests passed? Did those tests pass? Something strange happened there.
No, it didn't think the test passed because it's changing the code. So it's running the test. Now it's running the test alone.
So hold on a minute. This is saying date, day of month 5 and date, day of month 7, fubaz. How is this test passing? Is that test actually passing?
How is... No, it shouldn't really pass.
I mean, it's been claiming like to be running the tests and seeing that they were failing, but
no.
I'm not sure. So I'm going to run the test myself. Let's do /gradle w test minus info, is it?
Info, yeah, info.
Oh, I mean, that did a lot of things, but it apparently passed the test. Do you understand that?
Okay, let's accept the file just to make sure that...
Oh, maybe, yes, maybe I hadn't done that. So we're saying the date, day of month is 5 and 7, but the day of the month, what this would be, wouldn't be the day of the month. It would be the day of the year was 5 and 7. So,
Yes.
well, I continue to not understand how that passed the test. I'm going to take that off so we can see, and I'm going to run clean test just as Gradle. You know what it is? I think this hasn't been saved because I haven't saved that file.
It could be that it's using older version.
Well, I don't know whether it's using an older, but certainly I think that's the reason that it's passing. So if I go here and I say, if I run test now, that will fail, surely, because Gradle isn't able to see things that aren't unsaved. Okay, so these things happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it a clue. Things went wrong there. I hadn't saved the test file. The test should fail now. Please try again. So it seems that it was assuming that the tests that it were running were against the code that it was seeing. So it was looking at that code to make the test pass. It wasn't really looking at the test failures to make the test pass, which is legit. It was looking at the fact that the test didn't fail and assuming it was good.
It was, it was able to see the, because Gradle, he was probably able to see the change, but not Gradle.
Yes, exactly. So it was looking at my buffer, despite the fact there wasn't change. So it wasn't looking at the file, it was looking at the buffer. That's interesting.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it's saying, I see the file is already in the correct state. Let's run the test again to confirm we're still seeing the failure. So it said the file is in the correct state, but it isn't, right? So that's just like, it's in its correct state for its view of the world, which is wrong. This test is failing day 35. So I don't think that's helping it, is it?
Yeah.
It's digging itself a little hole.
This is something that's happened. Sometimes it goes in kind of a loop where basically it tries two solutions and then switch from one to the other, without making any progress, because of course.
Yes. And we see this with real humans in interviews, don't we?
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's got a model of the world, and the model it's so fundamentally wrong around the day of month that it can't step outside that.
It can be one of the two. So I'm trying the one. If it's not working, trying the second. Okay, no, let's try the first again.
I apologize, but I'm still seeing the test fail. Could you please show me the exact test failure message? Oh, so it's not seeing that. The test is adding 34 days, which should give us February the 4th, but I need to see the exact failure to understand what's going on. So I was expecting the agent to be looking at the test failures, but all it's actually been looking at is the fact that the test failed.
Maybe because it's not running with the info.
Yes. Can you do that yourself by using --info on the Gradle command? So we're dropping it a bone.
But it figured out that it was February the 4th.
Okay. So let's give it that clue. It should then be able to parse that thing, lots of which was failed. Expected fizzbuzz, but was 4. The test is failing because when we add, we get February the 4th, and our function is only 4.
Okay. Now it's trying to change the test.
Yes. Neither are the right thing. Are we going to give it a clue or just tell it that?
Oh, I try. We can tell him to try. Tell it. Try to think harder.
Yes, the tests are right.
There is no special case.
February 4th is not a special case. You are making a fundamentally... Well, okay, let's just give it that for now.
Yeah.
And day of year.
What about instead we should look at the many days and the years?
Yeah. So it said, instead we should be looking at how many days it's been since January the 1st. The test is checking 35th, which is indeed a multiple of 3 and 7. So let's update.
I mean,
now we'll test pass.
The speed is quite impressive as well. I mean, that when he said I have to think about it, just thinking for like half a second, and that's more than enough.
Yes. Yeah, I would be a deer in the headlights at that point. But it's good. It's good. I'm going to give it, we're going to add a test for 69 days, right? And say loop. And just to give it, we'll give it a little stroke. Let it know that it's doing a good job. It's part of it,
because it's
Okay, that's good. Interesting. This test passes. Interestingly, the test passes. I don't think it is interesting the test passes, but often that is a phrase because like we do run tests and sometimes they pass when we expect them to fail, and we go, oh, interesting. So no changes. Would you like to add more
Yeah.
test cases?
I don't think we can make it fail anymore.
One thing, if I want to torture, which is that I'll take these tests and say, what happened in a different year? Because we everything's been in a year. It's been right so far. Here in 2024, let's say, those are all the same, but let's reverse the sense. And I'm going to give it just a few clues, right? So I'm going to say that's true in 24. And then in 24, we go to Baz like that. And so what I want to loop in on is that it reverses in 2024. So in fact, it reverses in even years. So even years, it's foo and Baz and foo Baz, and odd year.
Oh,
That's
it's called test one. Is correct.
that's interesting. Yes, I messed that up, didn't I? So it won't even compile. So it should offer to fix that for me if I run it. It didn't save it. Oh, the tests are passing, but there's a problem. It's nice of it. Test 5. I said test 5 is the right answer, so we're going to accept that. And at that point, it probably saved it itself, I guess.
I'm not. Yeah. You can click accept all, but yeah.
So we're now in a position of running. Oh, let's see what it gets. Oh, so now it knows it can do that. It's doing it itself. I mean, I think a human might have just said test minus minus info to, get it over and done with.
Yeah.
But I do like the, I can see the exact error. Baz was foo.
It's trying to change it.
It's trying to move it.
Yeah, that won't help much.
That won't help, will it? Well, no, that won't help. So it's dug itself a little hole there, interestingly. And maybe there's something about like what the most likely problem with code is. So what's it asking? Should day of the month in our calculations, which means we should be looking at the day of the month in our calculations, not the day of the year. But that's already failed, right? So it's now digging itself in a deeper hole.
Yeah, that's also quite typical when sometimes you really have to step in and stop because it goes in this loop.
Stop the madness. And now there'll be 2 failing tests, I guess. Or test 4. Okay, so now it's
putting.
And now we're back in the loop. I mean, that's a good change, removing the day of the month 7 and day of month 5. But it's floundering like we flounder under pressure, right? It's like somebody's watching me, I'm recording a video, I'm in an interview,
whatever.
It's not working. I'm going to make a change. I'm just going to make a change. Let's just make a change. I don't think you are getting closer, to be honest with you. Date, day of month equals 5, Baz. Okay. I mean, that might work, but I think it's
but they will fail on the other test, I think.
So I want to put it out of its misery now, like we would somebody in an interview and say, have you considered this? But it's in this, it's in a loop, and I'm not really able to break out. No. So am I just able to say stop?
Yeah. If you want to stop. You need to.
Okay.
Maybe we can give a hit, try to think a bit the problem again or something like that.
Shall I give it more examples? Because to be fair, this feels like one of those sequence things, doesn't it? Like you're asked to guess the next number in a sequence or the next shape in a pattern or whatever. That feels like what we're doing here. We're giving a sequence of things, and it's trying to sort of backtrack and make sense of what it's done so far. We've only got one point here. If we gave it a trajectory, I think maybe it would stand a chance. So I'm going to give it that all of these, rather than just one of them, should be, because that's like more of a good pattern, right? There's a pattern there between 2024. You can't just go around.
Say buzz.
Yeah. Okay. So that wasn't going well. I've added some test.
We may pass your candidacy.
To make things clearer, I hope, but not too clear, because that would be interesting. Right. Let me run the tests, run the command. So in fact, I think many ways trying to interpret from the test is doing it more harm now than good. It's not doing a great job of that. If I gave it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it do this.
Okay, if to try to understand what the test 5 is expecting.
So
Okay, this
it's now
is
decided that test 5 is, yeah, so we're back into this loop, aren't we? I'm going
okay.
to put it out of its misery. We're going to reject that change and reject that change. So we're here. And maybe I'm going to give it a clue. Shall I give it the clue that this is test reverses in even number years? Because if I'd written that to a candidate, I would expect them to go, oh, no, I see what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So let's give that a go. Let's say loop. At some point, I wonder also how much having the context of the chat so far is not helping it now. Ah, right, there we go.
Oh, okay, you also get divided by 2.
And also, look, it's actually admitted we're giving it help. When the AI takes over the world, I hope that it admits that I gave it help. So where are we? Need to scroll up, run that command.
It's they are
Brilliant.
the hand. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just basically pencil that in. So we're going to take those and put them in here as well, and we're going to take the FUBAS ones and we're going to put them in here as well.
Football won't change.
Sorry.
The footballs won't change. I mean, that will stay the
Yes.
same.
Yes. I want to make that
Unless
foo, that foo, that foo. Do you think I should just reverse them? Like, so this would be baz foo.
best for yeah. Okay, yeah.
I mean, like
Oh,
it's,
consistency.
and then these ones all want to be 2024. Right. And then loop. I see it different cases. That isn't going to work, is it? Because it's going to hit that one first, I think.
No, it's correct. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Football.
Okay. I didn't. Let's accept that and see what we get. Yes. So it's a little bit wordy, maybe,
Yeah,
but
but
it's okay. Brilliant. Let's give it some praise. Oh, look, it's doing
oh,
what you do in an interview, though, isn't it? It's saying what a great
he's
time I had in
trying
this
to
interview. Yeah,
he's trying to climb back to say, yeah, that was a really
yeah. I really appreciate how you've made me a better developer by tearing me apart in this interview. Can you remove duplication from my fun, please? I think probably I should have said, "Can you make it better?" rather than giving a clue,
yeah,
but that's all right.
he
Is
can
even
make it.
year? Oh,
Yeah.
goodness me, that is quite a bit of duplication. Foo div baz div. The fact that it's called this div. Where does div come from?
Well, I think it's from division. I mean, dividend or something.
So we've got is even year. Foob is even year 5 to 7, else
But
7
it's
to
kind
5.
of using two different strategy. I mean, for
Oh, that is weird, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a bit too strange. That's a bit too strange. Revert and
That
just,
line 7 is pretty
yeah,
interesting.
that's
Not something that I will write about.
no creating a. I mean, it's expression oriented.
Yeah,
Uh, just revert and remove the duplication, the date.year duplication. See where we get. So that's now got day of year. I
and
don't
you can
really know what that's done. I'm going to let it run and then we're going to have a look at this. Let's accept that. Oh yeah, so we've lost. So is even year. That's
if is I mean
just removed the
7.
even year.
Yeah, but
Well, we're better,
well, okay.
but make my fun as good as you can by refactoring. Let's see what its instinct is, rather than telling it what to do. Extract. Okay, so extract that.
Divisible by 5, divisible by 7. Okay.
That's kind of strange. I know. Well, it's divisible by 5 and is divisible by.
I mean, this is quite readable, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. It's sort of sidestepped. It's here because it didn't do mod
Yeah,
35, right?
yeah. Which
I
is, I think,
again, if this was an interview, I think I might say it's not to my taste, but it's okay. I understand it. I can read it. There's a thing that's missing for me now is that we deliberately didn't give these tests good names, but
Yeah.
can it rename the tests? So we can say rename the tests. Oh, actually, no. Before I do, what should I name my fun? So it performs a fizz. So it's interesting that we never did fizzbuzz, but it's seen fizzbuzz.
Yeah.
That's
Fizzbuzz like.
fascinating. Date fizzbuzz or date to fizzbuzz? Date fizzbuzz? Go with that. So that's now date fizzbuzz. Although I regret that now because, of course, it isn't really date fizzbuzz, it's date fubaz.
Yeah.
Update the test file to use the new test name. So that's all good. Run the tests. So it's doing a good job. So the whole TDD thing, one of the problems I've had about AI a lot is that it does refactorings that just break things, whereas asking it to actually run the tests every time, at the very least, lets it know, is a stage that I don't have to go through, and that it
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
sometimes dig its way out.
You need to make sure that it doesn't have a too big. I think it's at the end it's a kind of a problem of the context. I mean, because it's a bit like human. You need to keep everything in mind. At some point, when code became too complicated, they have exactly the same problem than human. Of course, with a different scale probably, but keeping the code simple is also helping them. It's not true that with the AI you don't need to care about code quality. They definitely got stuck, and of course, if you got stuck with the very terrible code, a very messy spaghetti, it's not easy because of course they need some help, and you have no idea what's going on.
I mean, I think it depends on whether spaghetti code doesn't matter if we are starting from the spec again every time, but we're not starting from the spec again every time. And
Yeah,
so
but even if you start from a spec and at some point it break because of this kind of stuff, and you have like a function with 200 lines of code that you, as a human, you have no clue what's going on, and you got confused and keep doing this flip flop between two possible solution. You're kind of stuck, and you are not even in a position to help him. And
no,
if you,
no, but
yeah,
yeah, but the dream is that we don't need developers because nobody wants developers, really, do they? Only developers want developers. I've met developers and I don't want them. How are we doing? So I just asked it to rename the
rename.
functions, and actually I think that's probably done a really good job. I'm just going to let it run the tests, and then we're going to accept all anyway. There's an interesting interaction here, isn't there? Because in order for the test to run, these are actually in this source file, but I'm being asked to accept them or not accept them. That
Yeah.
isn't really accept; it's not reject. But
I
it's all
think
very good.
basically this accept. I have to check, but I think is it's kind of keeping the old version. So if you reject, it will reverse the file. But actually, they are in the new condition in the file system.
Yes. And so there's certainly some history in
But
there of what it was before. But it's also when I've edited this, we've ended up in a position where we were running tests the Gradle wasn't seeing, but when it's made
yeah,
changes before it ran
you,
Gradle, it has definitely saved those changes. And so
yes,
there's a difference between what accept and reject mean that the buffer is dirty or not. It's done a really good job of naming those tests, hasn't it? Returns day of year when not visible for 5 or
yeah.
7,
That's
returns foo for days, and so on. That's fantastic. I think we're going to say thank you. We have some other candidates.
we'll let you know if you pass
Yes,
the next step.
but we will be in
In touch.
touch. I want to know
Yeah,
who
which.
we get. I particularly enjoyed how the requirements unfolded through test cases. Good luck with your candidate search. Definitely the
Yeah,
most impressive use of AI for what would you say, algorithmic development, small scale algorithmic development I've seen.
yeah.
I'm
It's
unconvinced about AI for, as you say, the big structure of code. The reason that we get into trouble with software because the structure is wrong. I'm not sure about AI generated code for that. But here it was very human.
yeah. I that's I mean, it's also my experience. I'm using now that I have some time on my hands. I'm doing kind of a small project, but not that small, and writing also in technology that I don't know very much. And I mean, I'm learning in the meanwhile, but it's very human. That's it's able to write a lot of code, and you have to stop because at some point it can paint itself in the corner and not able to go. So, but if you tell him stop, do extract, do a modules, add a test here, add a test there, and then he could figure out how to continue. And it's definitely, if you know how to drive, let's say,
Hmm.
it's a really huge improvement on productivity, on stuff. I mean, even that kind of problem in our profession where you are super specialized. So there is the guy who knows everything about the Spring framework, and the other one that is a magician for the other. But with the AI, this kind of is not. I mean, if you have a good comprehension of the problem, you can switch a language, you can switch a framework, and let the details to the AI, because that's something that they are really good at.
This digging ourselves into holes with software where we end up going down the wrong route, or in the end we end up with the big ball of mud, and we're stuck, where we have to pay attention to
Yeah.
structure. It makes me wonder whether the fact the AI does that is because it sees the examples we've given it and it's learned from those examples, like the way that we do software, or whether it's intrinsic in software that if you don't pay special attention to something, then this is what you'll get. And I suspect probably it's just the law of entropy of the universe that you have to be really concentrating on structure. And we don't have the examples maybe in the literature that the AI has been trained on or could be trained on. I don't know, that keep
Yeah.
code as clean as it needs to be.
I think there's. I mean, in my opinion, there's definitely kind of. It's been trained on the industry standard, and it's following the industry standard, which is quite terrible at the end.
But also
Because
the right
yeah,
structure for code is very context specific, isn't it? So it's all very well to say that 90% of the code in the world is like this, but if your code is in 5%, it needs to look very differently. It's going to go down the 90% route rather than the route that would work for you.
yeah, no, of course, yeah, it depends a lot on. But it also knows, because if you ask how it should be, it's usually able to quote, clean code, whatever solid principle.
It's always Bob
But
Martin. It's
then
always quoting Bob Martin.
whatever. But then he's trying to write like 200 lines of code for a single function or stuff like that. If you don't tell it explicitly, no, I don't want this kind of stuff. It's really interesting, and I think counterintuitively, but it's actually a very good case to have a good code quality. Also, because the usual counter argument to code quality is that code quality takes more time to write, to be true or not. But for sure, with the AI, I mean, it's just a matter to tell him to tell it. No, just extract this and make a module, stuff like that. It doesn't take any time.
I realized when you were talking that yeah, I've learned a lot about software over the years by seeing the way that other people approach problems, seeing the problem that people in my team have, and so on, as well as obviously my problems. But AI gives us yet more insights into the process of software development. Like when you see it appears to be thinking or it's not thinking, but it gets stuck in some sort of way. I think it's another, not changed the way I thought about software, but it has made me think about what truths there are about software. Like, to
Yeah.
what extent is software just guessing the next word?
Yeah, it's a bit. It's true that it's a bit human, but it's also a bit not human, and it's
Mm,
alien. But it's definitely not just mechanical calculation or stuff like that. It really seems an interesting take of. I mean, at the end, AI just glorifies statistics, as they said. So
yeah. Berto, we'll draw it to an end. I bought a
yeah,
copy of your book to hold up so that you didn't have to go to the back of the room, and I also bought a copy of my
thank
book
you.
from your part of the world, but not quite.
Definitely.
It's been
Yeah.
lovely again.
All right,
Thank you very much.
go here.
And not quite next time next week, but we must meet up again as you discover more and interesting things about LLMs for me.
Yeah, that has been a really interesting, and having great fun to talk with you. And yeah, let's do it again, definitely in the future.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.